There we go. So we've got Kathleen and a guest who I'm guessing is Jenny, and then Kay. Can you guys all just sort of, those of you who are, oh, Kayla, got it. Okay. I can see who everybody is then. All right. So let's go ahead and get started because we have only about really 2.5 hours to cover about 6,000 years or more. And so, yeah, we should get started. I want to tell you that I'll show you in a little bit, but we won't go there right now. But I set up so that we can see what this all looks like on the online platform. On the online platform, Karina and I this week have taken all of this stuff that pertains, that's most pertinent from the course materials page. Remember that page that had all the different stuff, and it was on our shantiyogastudio.org website. We've taken all of that. We haven't taken it off of course materials, but we put it on the online platform. So it should make it easier for you. Everything will be in the same place. And so some of the stuff that I'm showing you today is from that page. And the handouts are all available to you. So you don't have to worry about maybe taking so many notes. You're obviously welcome to take notes, but everything is on those on that page on the online platform. It's also on the course materials, but I'm trying to move everything to the online platform. And so what I usually do when we're in a actual class is to have us embody this timeline of yoga history. And I am going to do that here. I'm going to try to do that here as well. But just to get started, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about yoga. And I labeled this session how, what, no, what, why, how, and whatever, a bunch of different questions. But basically, I got this because that is really pretty much what we're doing right here. First of all, the very idea of yoga comes from when the ancient people, however ancient you want to go, we were thinking at least 4,000 BC and probably older than that. When people started sitting around together, maybe they had a little bit less of a workload. Maybe they had fires so they could actually sit around at night and have conversations. And they asked the really big questions. And this is the heart of what yoga is who am I? Why am I here? Where am I going? And how do I get there? So that's why I titled this with those questions. This came to me when I was taking I taught a session at the Northwest Yoga Conference, and we got to go to everybody else's session. And this is from Adil I never can say his name right, Palikavala. There you go. And if you want to study more about it, I was so inspired by his discussion. He's from India, but he's settled in Seattle now, and he and his wife Savitri they're really great teachers, and you can follow his stuff online and everything, so you can get more. But his that's how he describes the practice of yoga and why it's here. It's when people first started asking those philosophical questions of what is the point of life? Why am I here? And yoga is actually one of the oldest sessions or oldest philosophies of all this. There's other philosophies that emanate. Yeah, I can. AADIL. Low. There you go. And Savitri. Savitri is his wife. So we begin, as I said, way back in the days of people first started contemplating things, first started thinking about philosophy and all that. And I have a timeline that I'm going to try to show you right now. This is, as I said, from your manual. Okay, so we want that. I think I'm going to actually, I want to show you this first really quick, because this is, I don't know if you can see it that well, but this is actually what your online course looks like. And so these are all different PDFs that you can download. As I said, they're all in course materials as well, but we kind of organize them a little bit more here. So um, they're more chronological. But that said, I want to remind you that yoga is not really linear, just like there's nothing that's that linear, to be honest, as far as humanity. We move forward, we move backwards, we move sideways, we move in, circles. And especially when we look at things that are this old, and when we look at cultures like India, I mentioned this on Wednesday, that although there's a body of knowledge that's going to be starting to develop, that's answering these questions, systematically answering these questions for them. Each little village in India has a different perspective on it because of what they're bringing to it, which is such a great lesson for us as yoga teachers. We're each unique. We're each unique, specific expressions of the life force. So as we evolve our body of knowledge, if you're in northern India, if you're over in Sri Lanka on the island, or wherever you're at, you're going to have a little bit different story to tell. So it's very circular. Also, there's Mike going by. You'll see him going by a lot. Also, what I was starting to say is this beget other philosophies. It was really a lot of the yoga philosophy came out of yoga and another school called Jainism. There's a lot of different philosophies. I'm calling them philosophy for a reason, not religion, because this is more of a philosophical, and even it goes as far as to say psychological study. It's not so much follow this belief or you're going to burn in hell. It's more, if you follow these ways, you'll probably live a happier life, which is what this is all about. How can I live a happier life? That happier life might involve a religion. It might involve non-religion. It's more a philosophy to get you started, more of a technology. Oh, hi, Stacy. Okay, I see you're the guest on them. So we're gonna go with that, and I'm gonna take us back to the very beginning of yoga's roots that we know of, and this is as I said pre 4000 BC, and they know this for several reasons. One is because in this period it's called the Vedas. This is because a lot of these songs, we'll call them, because history was shared, philosophy was shared by chanting and songs and stories about the different deities and whatnot. They found that there's references to different things, like the beautiful flowing Saraswati River in India that actually dried up in around 2000 BC. So we know it's before that. But then they've carbon coated other things like little figurines and something called seals. I always thought seals were like seals, the animals, but they're like seals that they would seal. They would on different buildings. They would seal. They had people sitting in these yoga positions and all that. So again, I want to remind everybody that yoga is not the yoga that we think of it today necessarily. It's not a bunch of positions. Those didn't come into being until about 100 or 150 years ago. So most of the yoga that we'll be talking about at first here it was basically rituals, and basically so ritual ceremonies and just a way that we lived our everyday life. So it was more about making mundane holy, so to speak, or sacred, so that the things that they worshiped, so to speak, or that we talked about back then were the earth elements, things like the sun especially was up there, sun, moon, wind, rain, etc., etc. So let me show you this real quick, and then we'll go ahead and we'll start embodying some of this. I'm going to get back to my share screen. And this is a PowerPoint that you guys can look at whenever you want on your online course. I also can make it available to you if you're not currently a student or if you just don't have it. But this is what I did for the Northwest Conference, that Northwest Conference that I did with Adil. And so I'm going to see if I can, I got to go. Here you go. This is where I might have a little trouble moving this thing. There it goes. So this is where yoga developed in this valley right here. And let me see if I can, there it goes. Yoga is old. Leslie Kamenov suggests its roots go back as far as when our species first took time to crouch before a fire, maybe 300,000 years ago. I'm not going to do a lot of this because it looks like it's not the smoothest way. And here's some of the other things that you can read on there about all this. So if I can get it to move a little bit more quickly. And so the very first roots, I'm going to talk about something that precedes the Vedic period first. I'm going to go ahead and let that go. Are the earth elements. The times, so I'd like you to come to the very back of your mat. And some of you who've been in the course for a long time know that there's a graph that I have, and it's a graph of what I had people do at the Northwest Conference is I had them look at their map as a timeline, and that map is in your materials. There's nothing special about it. It's just it's a long rectangular thing, and I'm going to walk you through the different stages of that. So if you sit way back at the very back of your mat, you're going to come into a position, an easy, comfortable position, and think of this mat as being about 6,000 years. Okay, so just if you even want to kind of, in your mind, kind of organize that mat as 6,000 years. And we're in 2000, so we're going from 4,000 BC to 2000 CE, current era. So thinking about that, so BCE is before current era and CE is current era. And we're sitting at the back of our mat, the back of time, 4,000 BCE. And we have had this opportunity to be living and now have time to sit and contemplate about what is happening in the world and why we face sorrow and why things change. I mean, that's really a huge element of all this is that why does everything change? Why can't things just stay? Why can't I stay young? Why can't I stay healthy? Why can't my, fields continue to grow? Why do we have drought? Then the answer that they came up with is, well, it's how we react to this stuff. And we can, within ourselves, develop a state of equanimity, we'll call it, so that we can deal with this more calmly and with more serenity. And so we're sitting at the back of our mat, contemplating these ideas and talking about them with our fellow, we'll call them yogis at this point, fellow people from Indians. And we feel on our face the warmth of that fire that's burning. And we feel a deep sense of gratitude for that fire. And then we feel the earth beneath us, and we feel gratitude for the earth that supports us and that does allow things to grow. And then we feel gratitude for the water that we can drink, also to sustain ourselves and to water our food and to help us travel and move things. And we feel gratitude for the wind that carries the seeds to places so that they can be distributed. And the wind that keeps us cooler when days are hot. And then we also think about the fifth element, which is the most difficult to describe, but it's an idea of space, and space that's something more than what we are right now. Okay, so a lot of people think of it as spirit. It's often called ether or akasha, which means beyond just air, beyond just wind moving through. but it's it's kind of it's space. It's space, and we have space in our bodies, right? We have space um, in different pockets of our body, and we also recognize the space around us. We recognize when we lose a loved one that there's a space that still remains there for them. There's a space, metaphorically, in our heart, in our mind. So that's what that fifth element is. Okay. So these elements, as I mentioned, there was deep gratitude for them each, because they were each recognized as not only being part of our outer world, but being part of our inner world. Okay, they were part of, we, like I just said, we have space in our body. We have wind in our body, the breath that we take in and we let go of. We have the fire in our body, the heat that we use to burn food and to energize our movements, to activate our muscles, our movement, and also to burn away waste products. That fire measured on a physiology level as the chemical process that happens within each cell. But it's also our energy, our drive. And we have water. Water obviously is the fluid in our body, the water itself, but all the other fluid, the fluid that is our plasma, lymphatic fluid, and it's believed that the fascia in our body, if you can look at a very high level microscope of what seems to be our fascia, that a lot of people equate with naughty, you'll see that there's a liquid that moves along the little web-like fibers of that fascia. And of course, we have earth, and that's that connection to that which holds us. Whether you want to think of it as your bones or other body attributes, or the resources in your own body that bring you a sense of comfort, your family, your faith, which is a lot of what this idea of earth is. And so earth also relates to something that I want to bring up right now at the beginning, and that is purpose, dharma. Dharma means pillar. And the idea that began to be developed during this time is that we are all connected, and we'll call this the big D, the big dharma, D, capital D, H-A-R-M-A. And that's that there is an order to the world. So in these days, there was discussion and chanting and singing about the fact that we are all connected. I'm going to read a chant to you if I can find it real quickly. The chant, for example, I'll find it in a minute. And this dharma is what gives our individual, we'll call it little d dharma, purpose in life. So in serving the order of things, the big dharma, it was believed that we needed to do certain things to kind of appease. Appeasing was partly part of this, but also just to, again, express gratitude. Ritual is really important to this period. The ritual is the idea of taking these esoteric concepts and then bringing them home to something that we can be grounded in. And so here's one I'll sing to you. Or I'm not going to sing, I'll chant it too. So this is also my little handout for that Northwest Yoga Conference. I did this 7 years ago in March, okay? So I'm going to do a different one than that one. Here we go. I like this one best. Well, I can even sing this one because it's Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. And it goes like this. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. And this means, may all beings everywhere be happy and free. May the thoughts, words, and actions of my own life contribute in some way to that happiness and to that freedom for all. So you can see that there was a desire to, in recognition of the fact that we're all connected, and to try to do um, good towards the greater whole. Okay, so a sense of community. Another one I want to, I'm going to just tell you this one. This is, again, from this period so long ago. Verse 1: truth, strength, ferocity, dedication, fervor, effulgence, and sacrifice are the attributes among human beings that sustain the earth. Drawing upon Mother Earth's feminine power, these attributes have been and continue to be all that will be with us. May the world mother provide us with a wide and limitless domain for our livelihood. The earth is adorned with many hills, plains, and slopes. She bears plants with medicinal properties. May no man oppress her, and may she spread prosperity for us all around. O land, with your gracious kindness and intellect, bless us with prosperity and fortune, so that we live in harmony with the powers of heaven. O all-knowing Mother, establish us in the most appropriate manner. So you probably detected there that there's a very feminine-oriented aspect to all that, and that's because these people were agricultural. This is the beginning of when there was agriculture happening, not just hunters and gatherers, but agriculture. And the idea of giving birth, of growing things, was just really tied up in this whole philosophy. Okay, I'm going to go quickly into one more thing before we start. Then I'll have us start moving, I promise. So, because of all of this, because of this idea of reproduction and really being into the earth, it was actually believed that each of us are a microcosm of the macrocosm. Okay, so the macrocosm being the earth and all those elements that I've already talked about. The microcosm is us. We are each an aspect of that. We each have that in us. Okay, and again, that goes back to the idea of the big dharma and the little dharma. We each have a little dharma that serves the big dharma. So this is broken down into three basic deities. Okay, so again, deities. I'm not calling them gods so much, but more deities, because these are entities that help define and describe the philosophy. Not so much that there was a Brahman is the first one I'll talk about. The Brahman is a seed planter. Vishnu is a preserver, and Shiva is the destroyer, or the remover of the obstacles. Okay, so these are all aspects, philosophies, domains, if you will, that we recognize are important to our life, that we want to give acknowledgement and gratitude and I want to use the word obeyance. I can't think of another word right now, but we want to acknowledge. So in what happens in subsequent centuries, and more than that, these three deities that originated from back this far, they take on many different avatars, many different other positions. And so you'll be finding, like Kimberly loves to tell the stories about the deities. All those, for example, she talks about Shiva and Ganesha. Ganesha is a avatar of Shiva, the destroyer. Okay, so that's in a nutshell what was going on back then. All right, so we're going to go ahead and begin to work a little bit with these earth elements. So we're sitting in the back of our mat at 4,000 years, and let's go ahead now and begin to start moving our hands. So I'd recommend maybe you divide your mat mentally into six aspects. Each one 1,000 years. So let's walk our hands from 6,000 years ago at the very bottom on up to about another 1,000 years, okay? So that 1,000 years period, just go ahead and be there for a moment and just feel yourself embodying the development of that timeline. So as I said, history is not linear, it's circular. And so we're going to just kind of feel our spine moving in a circular pattern, and let your head kind of follow the spine as you move over to the left and maybe forward and over to the right, and then maybe rock your pelvic girdle backwards. And so just let yourself spiral your spine around. And then you might land in a particular place where you feel yourself stretching your, like if your hands are over on the right side of your body, you might stretch your left hand a little bit more. And continue going in this way to balance it out, maybe moving to the other side. And then we're going to walk back to the center and walk your hands back up to your hips. Take your fingertips behind you. Take a deep inhale through the nose, and we're going to exhale out the mouth in 2 puffs like this. Okay, so here we go. Inhale. Bring your hands forward so that you can move your hips up to where your hands were. And now you're sitting at that point that I mentioned was you come upwards 1,000 years. And we're going to work a little bit more with these 5 elements. Because what happens then in the Vedic period, which is at that, now we're at 3000 BCE, okay? So we're sitting with our hips about, 1/6 of the way up your mat. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what happens in the Vedic period. The Vedic period takes this information and begins to organize it a little bit more. And they take the 5 elements and they work them into, they still recognize there's 5 elements, but they work them into what's called, in Ayurvedic system, doshas. Okay, so we're going to work with the doshas. And by the way, these doshas ultimately become the chakras. So let's first feel the earth underneath our feet. So you're going to press your feet into the floor. Okay? And then hold out in front of you an idea of, I'm going to call it a sun, okay? Because the sun is one of the big things that was recognized as important as having rituals towards. So we have this big sun. It's not going to burn your hands, don't worry. Thumbs are out. This is a fire mudra, bringing the thumbs out like this. And we're going to just take it over to the left and over to the right. Okay, so we're starting to embody the first 3 earth elements. The earth is what's grounding us with our feet on the floor and with our hips, and also feeling the strength of the legs to support you here. The twisting side to side is starting to activate the water element. The water element is that we can go with the flow. Okay, and then the work that you're starting to feel up in the middle of the belly, that's the fire element. We're going to involve the fire element, and the heart, the lungs, is considered the air element, wind element. We're going to now add the fire mudra with the fire breath, and it goes like this. You can, if you need to come up anytime, go ahead and bring your feet underneath you and just let your back rest, because this is a little strenuous. And you could also do this just sitting up. You don't have to lean back. Leaning back a little bit is going to give you a lot more intensity to this. You may not want that intensity. So the exhale is active in fire breath. You're going to just exhale as if you're coughing. It's a little bit, if you did put your hand on your low belly, you feel that the exhale is activating your low belly. So you can do it with your mouth closed up. Take your hands to your knees and just come forward, giving your back an arch again. Take a deep inhale through the nose, exhale out the mouth in 2 puffs again. Let's do that one more time. Again, you can stay seated up if that's easier, or you can lean back a little bit. And you can also take this in a side to side, doing it to one side for 5 cycles, and then going to the other side for 5 cycles. And then again, come up, let your low back arch forward, take a deep inhale through the nose and exhale out the mouth in 2 puffs. So it's believed that all of us have a combination of these elements within us. Every one of us today is a unique combination of these elements, and these are called our doshas. And I'm not going to go into that a lot now, but it's part of the Ayurvedic system. If you want to see a little bit more, explore this a little bit more, and see what elements are strongest for you, you might try lifting your left foot, keeping your right foot on the floor, and just see how this feels when you aren't so firmly planted in the earth, okay? So maybe you'll be like, oh yeah, I need to have both feet on the floor, and then come up. So that's a way, if you're practicing at home, you can just kind of play with this and see how it affects your body. With that said, let's go ahead now and roll all the way back down to the floor. Okay, so we're going to come all the way to the floor. I got to scoot back so you can see me. I guess you don't need to see me. And keep your feet on the floor. And then with your arms beside you, palms facing up, bend your elbows and bring your palms facing each other. Okay, now lift your hips up and off the floor. Lift your hips. So I'm in bridge pose now. Hands facing each other. And take your hands to the top of your hips. Press your hips up into your hands. And feel like you're pulling your heels towards your hips. So you're going to feel a little bit more like you're beginning to tap into the back part of your body. Okay, again, feeling that sense of being grounded with the back part of your body. I'm going to talk to you while you're in this shape a little bit. So the Vedic period, there was a thriving civilization in the Indus Valley prior to the drying up of the Indus Valley, the Indus River. The Indus Valley civilization was a Bronze Age civilization. It was a mature period with Mesopotamia and Egypt as regarded as a cradle of civilization. At its peak, the Indus civilization may have had a population of over 5 million. Inhabitants of the ancient Indus River Valley developed new techniques in handicraft, seal carving, which I talked to you about, that showed people sitting in yoga postures, metallurgy. The Indus cities are noted for their urban planning, baked brick houses, an elaborate drainage system, water supplies, and clusters of large residential buildings. So that is the what's happening at this time when yoga was developing, all that stuff. So right now, you're probably feeling that you're developing some strength in your hips. Let's go ahead and bring the hips back down. Rock your knees side to side. And just take in that concept of the transition of those 1,000 years from when we began and we were sitting around the fire, worshiping with ritual, the 5 elements. And now we're coming up into the Veda period, which is getting a little bit more sophisticated, and this development of the Ayurvedic science, which is still really popular in India. It's popular with a lot of yogis. It's popular with me. I think it's a really great technology. But that's the change that's happening. And so it's happening again with our philosophy that's not linear. There's that circular spiraling inward to a little bit more refined idea. So right now, if you pick your feet up off the floor and just circle on your sacrum, almost like you're stirring a pot with your knees, and then circle in the other direction so that you're feeling that circular pattern. And then we're going to come back into our truth, into the center, which is the sacral area, the sacred bone. And just pause there for a moment. So your knees are over your hips, your sacrum is there on the floor. Okay, we're just going to do a little core work so I can talk to you a little bit more because I've got some questions. Amber wanted to know the name. There's 3 chants that I did, and I'll type them all out for you in a minute, but I'm going to say them to you. The first one, the Earth Verses, was from the Atharva Veda. It's called the Prithvi Sukta. The second one that I did, Loka Samasta Sukhino, that's Bhavantu. That's the name of that one. I'll type it out for you. And the last one I haven't said to you yet, but I'm going to say it to you right now. Those of you who have your knees up now, go ahead and start doing a little core work by lowering one foot to the floor and then the other. And you can also do your twist if you want. So I'm just keeping you physically engaged to also imprint some of this stuff. So here's a Gayatri mantra. Om Bhur Bhava Svaha Tat Savitur Varanyam Bargo Devaseya Dimi Mahi Dihoyana Prapto Dayat. Okay? And you've heard probably Kimberly singing this. She plays this on her harmonium, and you can get beautiful renditions of it. It's a beautiful chant. What it means is, O divinity that manifests as light, represented by the sun, come fill my consciousness. Creation of matter comes from light. Close to we are to light. The closer we are to our own divinity, then this must be our dharma, the reason why we are here. So Amber, I'll type those all out for you guys, but I want to keep moving to take advantage of every minute I have. So let's go ahead now and draw our knees back up into our chest. And we're going to work up into another period of time. So this, we'll just go ahead for ease and say that we're moving forward to the Upanishads. And we're going to sit at, you can scoot yourself up a little bit. So now you're at about, you've moved up even maybe as much as another 1,000 forward. So remember I had you divide your mat into 6. So you went up 5, 6. Now we're up 4, 6. Okay, 4, 6 of the way. So Upanishad means to sit next to. To sit next to is because at this point in time, the yogis began to have more defined, again, everything just keeps getting a little bit more defined. So defined gurus, defined teachers. Guru means heaviness. And so a guru is someone that people are drawn to because of the heaviness, but the heaviness is not darkness, it's actually light, and it's a heaviness of knowledge. They feel that there's a draw towards this person because they have knowledge. And so Upanishads literally means we're sitting next to a guru. So in this seated position, go ahead and take a twist to each side. And you might also go ahead and stretch to one side and to the other side. So you kind of feel that idea of being grounded, of having that heaviness in your hips to ground you. What happens in this period, there's a lot of really important concepts that are brought forth. And one of them is the gunas. And I'm going to talk about the gunas first. Okay, the gunas, and these are words that we need to know about. The gunas are the qualities. So I talked about what comprises who we are. I talked about the doshas: earth, water, fire, air, and ether, or rarefied air. So this isn't that physical thing. Okay, it's like me. Today, this is me. I'm here. Now, that's just who I am. But the gunas are the attributes or the characteristics or kind of the mood of that entity. So I am Debbie, but maybe today I am a workaholic Debbie, or maybe today I'm a lazy Debbie, or maybe today I'm a very peaceful Debbie. So that's what the gunas are, if that makes sense. I wouldn't say exactly moods, but they're the energy or the quality that you're bringing to it. So this is where the concept of gunas comes in, is at this time period. The gunas are part of, let's actually play with the gunas. Let's embody them a little bit. So in a seated position, let's take a particular yoga pose. Maybe you want to do easy cross-legged seat. Maybe you want to do Lord of the Fishes pose. Or maybe you want to do a different seated position. Just any seated position that makes sense to you. Okay? And we're going to explore these qualities like this. First, imagine that your body is super, super relaxed. You're just about ready to melt back down into your bed. Okay, so feeling that sense of just total melting down. Okay, notice how that shape, that uh, position changes. Notice what happens with its look and its feel. If you feel yourself just kind of relaxing totally, this guna is called tamas, Tamas, tamas. Okay, so it's very grounded. It's that idea of being a little bit lazy. I'm not going to say lazy necessarily, but it's that feeling of being very connected to earth. Now, let's do it on the other side. Same shape, but other side. And if you don't have something that's bilateral, just do the same thing. Now let's bring it to the opposite feeling, the feeling of if you have a hand up in front of you, so the tamasic hand would be kind of like that. Now we're going to do, it's called rajasic. We're going to just fire it up. Feel yourself firing up that shape. Okay, so now you're going to feel like you are really energized, maybe even to the point of being rigid. Okay, so we can take these to the extreme. Rajasic could be that you're getting things done, but it could also be that you're just a little too tense. So notice how that feels, and then notice the difference between the two sides. Okay, Rajasic. Now come into the center. So whatever shape you were in before, come back into what you feel is a neutral position. I'm coming into easy cross-legged seat. You might lie down on your back. Let's see if we can feel in this shape a balance of those two energies. Okay. So if again, think of my hand, tamasic was where it was just kind of flopped down. Rajasic was rigid. Now we're going to feel a balance of those two energies. Okay, a balance of both ease, but also stability. Notice how that feels in this shape. This is called sattvic. This is sattvic. Sattvic is the state in which there's a balance. It's where there's not a need to be grasping, nor is there a need to be, or not a need, nor is there no need. Okay, so it's the balance of both of those things. Okay, so there's a feeling. It's sattvic. It means it's like Goldilocks and the three bears. You know, the porridge is perfect. It's just there. You don't need to try to heat it up anymore. You don't need to let it cool off anymore. Just be. So the idea of the gunas is that they're always working on each other. Okay, so they're not. They're not necessarily one is bad and the other is good. I mean, obviously we think sattva is good, but the idea is once you start grasping for sattva, then you start, you become rajasic. Does that make sense? Once you start trying too hard or just trying for one thing, then you move out of sattvic. So sattvic is really elusive, and it's just the idea of letting it be. It's an idea of being super present and being okay with where you are right now. In the Yoga Sutras, which we'll talk about later, you'll see that this is related to the santosha. Okay, the santosha. Okay, just one second, Mike. I'm not finished till 1:30 yet, but I'll be ready right after that. Okay.
Yeah, I thought you finished at 12:30.
No. So, and I want to say something here real quick. The concepts that we're building on right now, I know these are lots of words that seem strange and all that, but you're going to see them develop and develop and develop and get fine-tuned when we get up into the Yoga Sutras. But I think this is a good time to pause for a moment. What do any of you guys have to say about these ideas? Does anybody want to share anything, or does anybody want to talk? If I were in Adil's class, what Adil had us do at this point, which I think is a great exercise, is we broke up into pairs, and one person talked first, and they had to tell the other person um, what they just learned, if they learned anything. So they talk about what they just learned. The other person, the listener, after 2 minutes, goes ahead and takes their turn talking, and they say everything they learned, but not repeating the stuff that the first person learned. So that's a really, really good technique. When we get back in person, um, I think we should do that, or you can do that with your own, in your own family. You can tell them what you got out of this by telling people what you got out of what I just talked about. That will help you embody it, and it will put your own spin on it. What I'm telling you is what I've taken from listening to a lot of people talk about this stuff. Um, they may look at what I say and say, "Hey, that's not what I learned at all," but that's this. This is my impression of what I've
Hey,
said.
Debbie.
Uh huh.
So you know how, well, like I'm supposed to be an art teacher, but I don't have a job as an art teacher right now. But that's like what I went to school to do.
Oh, I
Like
did too. Did you
to
know that?
me, I'm sitting. Oh yeah, this is Jenny Miller.
No, I know that.
Um,
But I was just saying. I went my first. I wanted to be an artist. You're a lot better than I was. So.
oh well, thank you so much. But I'm sure, like, I'd love to see whatever you made. That would be awesome.
Well,
Um,
threw it away.
but so as you were describing those, or okay, so as you were asking those questions and I was writing them down, like, who am I, what am I, where am I, how am I, why am I was thinking about like the elements and principles in art, and like they start with line and shape and form and color and lightness and darkness. And I would love to like incorporate art in my yoga, and I call it like stretch and sketch, and do
Oh,
like
good.
journaling.
Stretch and
And I'm
stretch.
thinking like, how can I connect like these questions, like who am I? And then like you could journal like a portrait, and we talk about like the lines of like the face and stuff, and like, and then like, you know how, like, what am I? And then it's like physical form, but like, and so I'm relating like all these questions and stuff to like art, because art is like the physical representation of like life,
You're right.
you know
And some
and
people.
like visual, you know and during the time of yoga, forming and everything, like the art forms of those times, like were like, figures of like, the physical representation of like Mother Earth,
Right.
and I don't know, it's just like art and the yoga principles and stuff are like clicking to me
Yeah,
and connecting right
that's
now.
awesome. And the physical. I mean, so you were calling art kind of physical, and it is also movement. I don't know if Alicia's here or not, but yeah, there she is. But like dance, music. Steve's going to talk a little bit about music and sound, and yoga poses. So as I mentioned, they didn't do yoga poses back then. I mean, they did the yoga pose like we just did, but you can feel this in your own body. Like if we were to stand up right now, let's do that if you don't mind. Let's stand up and do a yoga pose. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Like just stand up and feel your body in these different shapes. So let's say that we're going to do. I'm just going to stand here in mountain. You guys can do whatever you want, but it's easier for me to talk. Plus, you can't see my head or my feet anyway. But you can feel in your yoga pose that idea of bringing those different gunas to it. Like if you are standing in sattva, you feel a balance of sukha and stira. So you'll see again that the words that you're learning right now have a lot to do with the words that become very, very important to us as we develop, as that spiral keeps moving through the centuries. So if you're here and you're looking and you're feeling, okay, let me do the opposite. Let me get really sloppy. You just kind of sad, and then you go, let me get really rajasic and get really um, rigid, and then let your body melt into the in between of those. So, in your own physical body, you can feel the balance of these different energies. A lot of these truths that we're bringing up in our just in our little discussion here, you'll find that they, just like you said, Jenny, they have a lot of correlates in other technologies and other things, like in art. Alicia would notice this in dance and philosophy. In whatever endeavor, you'll notice that these qualities of being of finding that flow, of finding sattvic is a lot like finding flow. We talked about that on Wednesday. It's finding that point where you feel, yeah, I'm applying just the right amount of energy and I'm letting go just the right amount and I'm non-grasping just the right amount. So that feeling of balance is what this is all about. One thing I probably should go back to is what how yoga is defined. Okay, so yoga is defined by a lot of people as yoking or connection. And I think it's really important that we go back to that real quick because this, what we just discussed, was kind of an illustration of that. We want to find a balance. We find a balance of both tamas and rajasic, tamasic and rajasic. We find that sense of sattvic. Okay, so there was something in this little book I wanted to bring up to you, if I can find it really quick. Just basically that, yeah, that's the idea, is that when we can find a balance between things. Oh, I know what I was going to talk about. But it's a yoking of opposites. So it's a yoking of the rajasic and the tamasic. But the other important thing when you're thinking about the definition of yoga, it's a yoking of our energy with the greater good, so to speak. So it's a yoking of our little d, our little dharma, to the big dharma. Okay, so that's really what it is. It's yoga is about connection. Okay, yoga is connection. It's connecting. It's realizing that we are all connected. It's realizing that within us we can find connection and we can find balance, and it's a connection with each other. And when you realize that you are connected, all of us here on this screen are all connected right now, but we're also connected more broadly with all living things, and that's what yoga is. It's that recognition of connection. So you go from just worrying about me to worrying about, or I wouldn't say worrying, but being mindful of the greater good, the we. Okay, so yeah, I really wanted to bring that up. So you can see that tying into all this thing, this constantly going back to the idea of balance and connection, balance and connection. Okay, Alicia?
Debbie, just to follow with that, I was just reading yesterday one of your handouts by Joel Kramer,
Yes.
Yoga Self Transformation, and he talks about a lot about balance. I cannot find his. So one is yoga involves a balance between control and surrender.
That's exactly what we just did. And that's,
And then
go ahead.
he also talks about like you can practice yogas with a purpose, or you can practice yoga with sensuality, like sensing,
Right.
and then the balance between the two of them, which
Yes.
I find that when he used the word sensuality, not just this in a sexual way, but
yeah, your senses
yeah.
are really important. Your senses give your brain information. Obviously, our physical sensation. When if I touch something and it's hot, that tells my brain to pull my hand off. And so, yes, the senses are important. We want to not be overridden by them, but the idea of, I'm going to try to find that for you. But we want to and get information from them and all that. So thank you. Yeah, I love that article. I really hope everybody reads it. It's so good.
I liked it too very much. Yes.
Alicia, this is Kathleen. Could you say that phrase again, that you about it, yoga can either be something or a practice with sensuality?
So will read it, but I also let you know where I find it. So if you go into what the I guess articles or that they say for the seminar, so it's Yoga Self-Transformation by Joel Kramer, and he said that yoga involves a balance between control and surrender, between pushing and relaxing, channeling energy and letting go, so the energy can move on, can move you.
Thank you. So Debbie, it segues into a question I have about the gunas being kind of where, like a mood or where you are. And I'm wondering if philosophically in yoga philosophy, are the gunas something that we're observing about ourselves? Like maybe I'm in a rajasic day or a rajasic period of my life.
Yeah.
And is it something that I simply observe? And maybe I practice my yoga with sensuality during that time, and it's a rather rajasic yoga. Or is yoga philosophy, is a guna something more of a observe it, and then it's so Western to think I have to do something with it. I have to move towards an area of balance. So at a period, am I supposed to do something with it?
I think that's such a great question. I sort of feel it is, and that's funny to say that it's a sort of Western, because that's the whole point of Ayurveda. Ayurveda is that we look at ourselves and we know who we are, and we know what our we know what our doshas are, and we know what our gunas are, where we at in our gunas. And then what you do with the Ayurvedic science is you go, for example, if you're a person that is a Buddhist, let's say you're a Buddhist monk, maybe you need a little rajasic in your life. Maybe you need to, maybe not to need it like you're trying to be something you're not, but to bring balance to your lifestyle. So people that are very vata, that means they're very maybe idea oriented, and I don't mean this in a bad way because I'm a vata for sure, but maybe not always so grounded. Maybe for us, when we do our practice, and when we do our practices such as asana, pranayama, and meditation, and even the way we eat, this can help bring balance to that. So it's like if you have a child, or even if you have a pet. This is kind of funny. I've never said this before, but you know how certain. I have a dog that's kind of aggressive, so it's like, okay, when we cross the street and we see another dog, we have a treat, and we give the dog a treat. We're not going to change the dog, it's the way they are. We're not going to change, just like we can't really change us, but we can affect it with our actions. And that, I think, is really the heart of Ayurveda and the heart of this studying. When we talk about it's what is it? We're really kind of in that question right now. What is it? And it is a way to help us live better, happier, and to live with the fact that there's constant change and we never can control anything. And the how is kind of what we're getting into, is how does it work? How can we do that? How can we make it this knowledge useful so that we do live more blissfully? This gets spelled out more. I was going to go into the how more when we get into the Yoga Sutras, but I think you can already see it right here. Because these thoughts developed, then I think that that there was definitely a reason. I'm going to tell you what the Upanishads. Here's some. This is a really good series of texts that I'll write out for you. So the Vedas, the main principal text there was the Rig Veda, which is what I read to you from some of that. The Upanishads, where we are right now. I'm going to write down what the text was right there, and this is a text that teaches. Ancient text, of course, but it teaches about these concepts. It's considered one of the principal texts. And let's see, it's called the Chandogya and then Taittiriya. So those are the names for the Upanishads, okay, for the principal texts of the Upanishads. And they talk about things like meditation. So this goes right into what you're saying, Kathleen. So the way to start dealing with this, the how to start using this information in your everyday life, is renunciation, inner sacrifice, but meditation, contemplation. The goal is to know one's true nature, okay? And this is where the chant so hum sa comes in, which is I am that. It's the idea that. So I'll show it to you right now. You can do it with me if you want. So you breathe in, so you breathe out, hum. So hum. I am that. And what that means is I am a unique, specific expression of the life force. I am part of that bigger picture. I am a wave in an ocean of waves. When you're doing the so hum, I am that. And then the reverse of it is hum sa, that I am. Basically, a simple way of meditating on the concept of our connection. Okay, and with that connection, we understand that what's going to, all the little technical stuff we're going to talk about later, this is where it comes from. Okay, it comes from this basic idea. I want to talk about one other concept that's super important here. And again, if you would come to a yoga position, okay, so some of you may want to get up and do something warrior two. Okay, some of you may I'm just going to sit for right now. But the idea is that I use a term lots of times that we're like Russian dolls. If you if you think of those Russian dolls that have layers and layers and layers, like there's the big outer one, then one inside, then one inside, and one inside, and then there's a little pearl in the middle. This is what they believe during this period. They're called koshas in yoga philosophy. Okay, so this is getting into some kind of really heavy stuff. Remember, it's all on those handouts. But the outer layer, that very outer layer, is called the Annamaya kosha, and that's our body. And so, if you feel in your yoga position, I'm in a seated position right now. I'm feeling my body. I'm feeling, as Alicia mentioned, I'm feeling my senses, and my brain is receiving those senses, and they're sending signals to my muscles. I'm very much in my body. This is an Annamaya kosha. This is where we always start. It's the outer layer. It's a safe layer. These layers are actually called sheaths, sheaths. Sheaths mean they are no, Bonnie, no. They're sheaths because they protect us. Okay, I'm going to talk about it that way. Some feel that they can also close us off, and so in a way you can see that happening as well. But the outer layer, our outer coat, is our body, and that is what protects us. Obviously, our senses keep us from hurting our body. They keep us from getting burned. The Annamaya kosha, the word means anything that has to do with food. Anna is food, so Annamaya kosha. I'm going to talk about the middle word real quick for you guys, Maya. So Maya means illusion, and I already talked to you about the fact that this is a Russian doll. I wish there was another word for it, but I can't think of it. But anyway, this is a Russian doll.
It's called a Matrushka doll. Matrushka.
Matrushka. Thank you.
We use them in Montessori class. It's like a main staple, like primary or practical life introduction, like concepts of size and of illusion, like it was here, but now it's gone, but it is still here,
Oh, cool.
But that's that's very Montessori. Well, like Montessori didn't invent it, but she saw the incredible like significance of it that she made it a staple in her method.
Yeah, that's cool because it is, we get fooled. That's another word, that word Maya. It really it can be an illusion. It can also be, like I said, a protection. So the outer layer, Annamaya kosha, that's your body. When you're in a pose, and this pertains to teachers, you're going to first deal with the Annamaya kosha. When you're doing meditation, you're definitely going to first work on the Annamaya kosha. And that's why a lot of you that are interested in trauma sensitive teaching, you allow people to stay there. You begin there, you describe senses, and you don't necessarily bring people to the next layer in, or you invite them in, you don't force them in. So the next layer in is your prana maya kosha. Prana is the idea of that there's a life force in our body. This I keep talking about life force. We are each a unique, specific expression of the life force. The life force is it's like it rides your prana. It rides your breath. Okay, it is not just your breath. You have prana in every part of your body. You have prana, and in fact, back to the fascia, it's believed that fascia is actually a lot like what prana rides on, because fascia is interwoven into all the aspects of our body. So anyway, the breath prana, it's called the pranamaya kosha. You usually think of it as breath work. You think about it as doing, again, what we just did, the so hum. Inhale, exhale. I breathe in, I breathe out. That's a super simple prana technique, but it starts taking you deeper, okay? And so then the next layer in is the manamaya kosha. Mana is your mind and your emotions, and we already talked about that. The fact that our emotions and our mind are affected by our outer body, and obviously, for sure, about the prana, about our breath, that really does affect our emotions and our mind, right? But it's even a little bit deeper than that, because I'm going to show you a diagram in a minute, because it's related to our subconscious as well. Okay, and so when we meditate, when we do yoga nidra, when we do some pranayama, when we sleep and we dream, we sometimes can tap into this latent consciousness, and the latent consciousness can give us a lot of information about ourselves. A lot of what yoga is about learning about ourselves, self-study, self-awareness, svadhyaya it's called. So when we get into this layer, it's not just the more mundane, I'm hot today, or I'm mad at so-and-so today. Not that kind of stuff. I mean, not just that kind of stuff, but also the deeper layer. So that's why this is considered a deeper and more vulnerable layer of who we are. So again, back to teaching a meditation, or teaching a yoga nidra, or teaching an asana. You start with the physical. You then can go into the breath. Adding in mental, emotional stuff is taking everybody a lot deeper. And again, those of you, I know several of you are do trauma sensitive teaching and do counseling. This is where you're careful of always giving people an out and never pushing people to go deeper in. But this is the work of this layer. And then the next layer in is called the Vijna Maya Kosha. And the Vijna Maya Kosha, as the word sounds like, it's to do with your intuition, your vision. It's like going deeper into your, these also relate to the chakras, which I'll get into later if we have time. But this is getting into that third eye stuff. Okay, this is getting into, okay, who am I? And when I have more time, and if we have time, I'm going to do it, the future self meditation, where you go into that meditation and you really, after going through these other layers, you tap into really what your inner truth is, and you listen to it. Okay, so that's that layer, and that is, of course, getting even deeper yet. The next layer in is called the Anandamaya Kosha. That's the bliss layer. So that's getting into a little even smaller layer. And that is, as it sounds, Ananda means bliss. So that's a bliss layer. That's when you truly feel, oh my God, I'm connected to all things. I feel it. I know it. I know it in my bones. I know it everywhere. And so it's Anandamaya Kosha. So it's considered the bliss layer. The very seed of this, does anybody know what it's called? The very seed of all this, it's not even like a doll. It's just right there in the center. And all the other layers are protecting it, subsequently getting more and more, I would say more and more, it's called more and more subtle, more and more causal. This is really the seed of who we are. It's called the Atman, Atman, Atman. Okay, so what they've done in this period of time in the Upanishads is they have constructed this technology of what we're comprised of. It's called, again, the koshas. It's a really important concept, and why I think it's so important is it relates so well to modern psychology, right? Those of you who are psychologists, this is how we work with trauma-sensitive people. This is how we create change. We don't create change necessarily. If we do, I was going to say on the outer layer, we might begin there, but it definitely comes back into our deepest core of who we are, and that's where that deepest core, that right in the center, is what is related to the big picture, the big mind, the pure consciousness. It's called the Purusha. Okay, so our Atman, our little singular Atman, is a microcosm of Purusha. I'm going to just call it big mind. Okay. So there's a diagram in your manual that shows this, or not in your manual, in the online course, but also those of you who have a manual, it's there. And the manual is really, if any of you guys want a hard copy, it's all on the online platform. You can just print things. But in that diagram, if I had one close by, I'd show it to you. I'll show it to you in a second. I could go back to my sharing the screen, but I guess I'm old-fashioned and just go to this. It's like, I'll just describe it to you. It's like here's a circle, that's the big mind. Here's a circle, that's us. There's a line that separates the Purusha from the little mind. The little mind is called Prakriti. 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 Oops, I did something to you. Prakriti is our self right here and right now. This is my Prakriti. And my Prakriti is made up of those 5 layers. It is involved with those 3 gunas. It's comprised of those 5 earth elements. That's this earthly body that I have right now. Okay? It is related. It is part, or Purusha and Prakriti. One is the embodied experience of being on this earth at this moment. The Purusha is that belief that there's a bigger mind, a bigger dharma, a bigger, and I don't mean a God like that, but it just that there's an order to the world, and that's the line that separates the two, is that it's an illusion. It's an illusion that we're not that. Okay, so that's the idea of our work in yoga, is to understand that we are important. Each one of us, we're all interconnected. We all need to understand that we have a duty to this planet and to each other, to serve each other, and to in so doing, to serve ourselves. By serving, I don't mean be greedy and all that, but to be like taking care of ourselves. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions about that? Do you want me to show you the picture? It'll take me a second to find it. I don't know why I don't have all this stuff out, but I don't. Let's see.
Debbi, might be in that file that you were showing us before for your presentation. That's the one I'm looking into that you have there's a picture of also of the cat that says my true self.
Do you want to look at that? Because that does, that's pretty good.
The one that I'm looking, it's from your presentation. It says the koshas, 5 sets of human being. Yep. And then you have like a graph that puts the chakras and the koshas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good place to look. I can go show that to you right now, just real quick. Share. This is the one that I wasn't having great luck in moving fast through, but let's see if I can do it better. Because it's definitely in this one. Maybe I can do it this way. I'll go over here. Here you go. You guys see that?
I can't see the bottom of it.
Let me see if I can move it up. It's being so, oh, there's that. There's a cat she's talking about. My thing doesn't move very.
That's the one I was looking. Okay, I'm moving to the.
It's not a big deal.
No, just a second. Here it is. That's a good, this is it. So this is Purusha. Here's our unconscious mind. Here's our conscious mind. So this affects our conscious mind. The breath connects with the body, and here's our senses and actions. So we're always dealing with this disconnect from really knowing that we are connected. Like right now, you may feel like, oh gosh, I don't know if I'm not connected to anything bigger and better. But as the yoga scholars say, that's what we're working for. That's what we're working to try to move beyond, is to really understand that concept.
The unconscious mind, is that considered Prakriti or Purusha? I couldn't tell from that.
That's a great question. It's still considered.
I would think Prakriti.
Yeah, it's jumping around. Sorry, it won't let me stay very easily at one place. Wow. It's considered right here. Let's see if I can get it to go. There you go. Yay. It's considered, Amber, our Prakriti. Our Prakriti. You can think of it a little bit like Purusha being spirit, like universal spirit, or just an energy, so to speak. So when it becomes individualized, it becomes Prakriti. Okay, so when you have your own unique subconscious and your own unique conscious mind, that's you uniquely. But that is also, you are Purusha as well. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah. Okay, and then I'm going to come down. I'm going to go ahead and go just a second here. I'm trying to get this guy up. Oh, this is fun. So here's the illustration, and this is from the Upanishads, as it says here, and I'll see if I can get it more even. And then I like this chart because it also has a little bit, it's just not wanting me to go exactly there. Sorry. Well, by the way, this is a PowerPoint. Okay, so good enough, huh? I wish I could just move it one page at a time, but it doesn't like to do that. Just let me try one more time. Well, there you can just read some information about it. Okay, so how's everybody doing with that? And there's actually some really better, I've got some really cool graphs that I came up with that illustrate some of that. Okay, so you can see this is a pretty important time. This is where things are really getting, getting specific. So we've got the koshas, we've got the gunas. These are from that period. The other,
So, Debbi, how you connect koshas, the gunas, and then the chakras?
okay, so unfortunately that drawing wouldn't stay up very well. You saw it jumping around, or I would go back to it. Okay, so the layers of who we are, the koshas, you can really see that connecting to the chakras. The chakras are starting to be talked about now at this time period. But the really manifestation of the chakras, they came about more about 800 CE, 800 current era. But they're starting, and they come from this, just like the doshas, the Ayurvedic doshas came from the 5 elements. So from here, these layers begin to feed into the chakras. Okay, so they definitely go into it. And the gunas, because the chakras are not just our physical self, but also that energy, the gunas also move into that. But again, remember the gunas are like they're constantly changing, and they're kind of like that quality of being. They're not as static. They're more of a general energy that's happening at that time. So when we go, I'll talk real quickly about the chakras. Might as well, because the seeds of them are here. The chakras. So in this time period, in the Upanishads, the chakras were. The idea of prana was developed, and the prana is, as I mentioned, that life force that's in our body. It's like, oh, when we're here on this earth, our prakriti, it has a life force. It has a life force that's physical. That is, I've got white skin and bones and blah 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 blah. But it's also an idea that we are. We have this life force in us that's coming from Purusha. Okay, so that's our prana is moving within our body. So the prana moves in our body, all throughout our body, but it's like, and they call the nadis are called rivers. It's like there's 2 main rivers. There's actually one main river, the Sushumna, that runs through the center axis of your body. And then there's a what's considered more of a feminine, that's the Ida river, and then the Pingala, which is considered more masculine, that cross the Sushumna, cross the center axis at these different points in the body. Okay, and so if you think of this just energetically, you think of your body like a huge web of rivers, but then think of those 3 main rivers and think about them crossing at different places along your spine. Okay, each of these places along your spine, or actually from your tail all the way up to your crown, each of these places are a nexus of energy, a balance of energy of the masculine and the feminine. It's believed in the chakra system, and this comes from Tantra Yoga, which is going to be invented in the next unit that we get to. At each of these places, we want that energy to be balanced, and that will signal for balance to come throughout our body. So the male energy is considered more rajasic, Alicia, and the feminine energy is considered more tamasic. And the balance of them both is sattvic, and that's what we're seeking. So that's how this relates somewhat, okay? And when we talked about the hierarchy of the koshas, our deepest layer would be the crown chakra, and our grossest level, or whatever you want to call it, I'm just using gross because that's the word they use, the heaviest level is our first chakra, our roots. Okay, so we have the root chakra, which is an intersection. It's usually considered your legs and your perineal floor. We've got the second chakra. This is your Svadhisthana chakra. That's lots of times associated with, it can be associated with the prana maya kosha, but still with that first kosha. Okay, then we've got the Manipura chakra, the third chakra. And I'm going to go quick, and then I'll go back and explain the fourth chakra, the fifth chakra, the sixth chakra, which is a third eye, intuition. So here we're coming into intuition, and here we're coming into, so this would be Vijna Maya Kosha. This would be the Ananda Maya Kosha, but also this would be considered that recognition of Atman. Okay, so so you can say this would be the bliss layer and that Atman together. Does that kind of make sense? Can you see how this technology is starting to, have a flavor of, okay, we're comprised of layers, and we have work to do, starting at the grossest layer to get to the most subtle layers of who we are. Okay, and we work on the outer body first, so that we get our act together. With that, we embody it, and then we move on into these other layers. Okay, so that's a really great question. I wouldn't have a diagram to show that anyway, so I'm glad you asked it, because you guys can go back and look at the diagrams. One of them talks a little bit about how. No. Okay. So, any other questions, you guys? So yeah, it's really kind of fun to think about that.
Well, you also mentioned the Vara, the Kappa, and the Pita.
Yes. Okay. That went back into. I'm giving you so many words right now. That goes back to way back to the Veda period. That's Ayurveda. So that I didn't go into it too much because it's just a lot of words. So and do you see now, just like the deities start having lots of different names? Like it starts out Shiva, and then Shiva becomes. That's what happens with these concepts. They start throughout these centuries, throughout these thousands of years. The ideas take on different forms, and some of these forms are due to just the area in which they're being developed. But kapha is a combination of the elements of, so start with the 5 elements. So kapha is a combination of the elements of earth and water, and pita is is obviously fire, but also can have some water in it, which sounds kind of weird, but they kind of can go together. They both create change. And then the vata has both air and akasha in it, so rarefied with space and air. That's why they call people that are vata spacey. Haha. No. Anyway, it's in each of these. So none of us are purely kapha, pita, or vata. We're all a combination. Okay. So part of it in the Ayurvedic tradition, it's very physical. Like I don't buy into all this part of it, because I don't think so. It's like if you happen to be thin boned, frizzy hair, and whatever, you're more likely to be a vata. I don't know that part I'm not sure I believe. If you're a kapha, you tend to have luxurious dark hair. You tend to be a little bit heavier. If you're a pita, you tend to be muscular. So it's a physical thing. It's an actual physical look, so to speak. But like I said, I personally don't totally go with that part of it. But I do go with the fact that there's an energy that we have that relates to that. And sometimes the physical goes with it too. Does that make sense?
I did take a test one day where they'll tell you, and it is interesting. They ask you about, like, your skin, if it's dry or cold, or a lot of things that do make sense.
Yes,
and your diet, and how does your diet or your style of living, if you're like a morning or evening person,
exactly,
and all that kind of stuff.
I think they're great.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would definitely take one of those tests. Deepak Chopra is the guy who kind of made him famous. But it's, just like everything, I just have to encourage you to put your own spin on it. Don't take anything that you read for, you think about what you do the work, and then you decide what you think is makes sense to you. And I've done that, and I love Ayurveda. It's the only kind of diet I've ever been on. I've never, been a fan of one size fits all diets, but I like the Ayurvedic diet, and I can tell you more about that later. I won't go into it now, but it respects the fact that we're all unique, and I think that's what yoga does, which is really great. And that's what this idea of the chakras does too, is that, some of us are working on things that are more our root values. Of course, those of you who studied Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you recognize this. And of course, this came way before Maslow did his work. So a lot of the work that psychologists did and psychiatrists did, Freud, Jung, Maslow, had to do with honestly research in this ancient science, this ancient psychology. So they all took their different spins on it. If you read Freud or Jung, you'll see that there are some similarities, there's some differences in Maslow as well. But it's really interesting stuff. So we're supposed to take a break right now. Do you want to take just a little tiny break? Because we're kind of at a breaking point where we're going to move from this pre-classical stuff into the classical, which is going to be the Bhagavad Gita, and then we'll quickly move into the Yoga Sutras, and that'll bring us to a really good point where we've covered a lot of information. And you can just grab some water or tea or whatever you drink, and food if you want. And I'm going to stay here to answer your questions. Like Karina in the newsletter said, I'm going to stay here and linger. I like her wording for everything. If you want to linger, you can linger, but also you can get up and go grab some food. Okay? Or whatever you need to do. And this is a great time to ask questions.
I'm going to get food first.
Good job. And if anybody wants to just type a question, you can do that too.
Debbie, thanks. This is my favorite section.
I know. I love it too.
It's so great to hear it all again. And the experiential learning, the moving with the 6,000 years on the mat is a great way to do that.
Yeah. It's a little bit easier when you have, I'm still getting used to doing this online thing. You think I'd have it down by now, but I just can't help but want to come up here and be that. I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm shouting. I know I'm not. I know it's perfect.
No.
But this feels more intimate. So
yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks. Well, I love it too. It's so important, and it's so powerful. That's what's crazy about it. So
it is so powerful, and I'm so glad I came for kind of a little refresh, because especially during this time, doing more of the daily practice and the yoga on my own, it's easy to kind of settle just into the physical, back into the physical part of it.
It really is, and it's really you forget what you just said about embodying yourself or embodying the stuff when you feel it in your body. That's why I think asana is so great, because you're really, as a practitioner, you can really take yourself there. You can go through those 5 layers, and you can think about the gunas. When you're teaching, you can do that too, but you probably, it's hard because there's a lot there, and you may never get beneath the Annamaya Kosha. Depends. But as far as a practitioner, you can really begin to feel how this, and just to remember, what I like so much is that the worship, so to speak, was that our everyday is holy, is the mundane is spiritual, and to live that in your body during a practice, but then also to take it out into your how you prepare your food and how you treat other people. That's what's so powerful, So.
Hey, you aren't teaching tomorrow at all, are you?
No, I'll probably be around, but I'm not. Oh, look at what I found! I had this layer of stuff right here. This is the graph that I just invented, and I like it. Actually, I'll use it next time. But no, I'm not. I'm not doing it. It's just Kimberly tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to run, but I will. I'm going to sign up for your Monday morning class. So I'll see you then.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we're doing this. We're going to work on all these things every Monday and Wednesday of this month.
This month.
Yeah. So we'll be doing lots of review of this stuff.
Fantastic.
Okay.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.